bottom left.
Good evening, Synergy PWR viewers across the world. Welcome to Synergy PWR People's World Racing, and we're here finally for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's a bit late and we've missed qualifying, but that's my entire fault because I wasn't paying attention to the time. But we have a lobby of 14 drivers here for this Division 2 race and a cracking qualifying it seems to have been as well. Vicolas stating this is one of his worst tracks in Formula 1, the Formula 1 calendar, managing to snag pole position with the current leader in the Division 2 Championship in PWR Shadow in second and HP Suppressor in P3, and the new driver of Resolutionary, or Res, as we call her, starting in P4 in front of her teammate SF1 Shawns, and the rest of the drivers will be given a great introduction, I'm sure, by my co-commentator tonight in Hoonigan 403, World Champion from Season 2 in Division 2. Good evening to yourself, sir, and that is one beautiful microphone.
Good evening, everybody, and ready to get this underway.
Indeed, it's going to be an absolute wonder, as you are obviously going through a tornado at the moment, going down the main street now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to fix the mic here.
We can tell, ladies and gentlemen, we are prepared to the absolute eyeballs here for this race, and definitely not late in any stretch. I can only apologise for the delay to this stream tonight, but it's certainly not going to stop the fun and action for this Chinese Grand Prix around the Shanghai circuit, and it is going to be a great race indeed. The drivers now coming around the final selection of corners. An intriguing qualifying though, you were there, and indeed Bongdog managed to out-qualify Hamster again. Mike David in P9, Tio Vesper in P10, and very quickly, any contenders for the win, do you think?
I think Vicolas is probably going to run away with it, but Shadow, he was doubting himself. So yeah, this could be interesting. And Resolutionary, her quali pace was insane, but her race pace might say something different.
We'll have to see what happens. The drivers are now lining up on the grid. And we're getting ready because we're now counting down the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go. The drivers, here they are. Vicolas getting a very decent start. Actually, the Racing Point getting an absolute cracking start, actually. Puts himself straight into P1 on the inside of turn 1, and HP Suppressor going around the outside to try and hold on as he can into P3. The Red Bull of Resolutionary getting up and managed to make a cracking overtake, actually. Very Kvyat-like, actually, from 2016, but managed to make the turn as they go side by side, heading through into turn number 3, and actually a really good selection of corners there from Vicolas, and definitely some contact, I think. PWR Shadow lagging just a little bit, heading through into the rest of the track. Further down the order as well from the other positions as it stands at the moment. Couple of positions gained for, couple of positions lost rather for SF1 Shawns, down now in P7 with Matt David down in the Alfa Romeo. So Paul Davey obviously in a particular situation as well, to losing a couple of positions. He's down the order.
Yeah, very good start there by PWR Shadow. Vic just got a little bit too eager on the throttle there, and of course so much wheel spin, so he got a really poor start, but very good. Now Shadow just needs to keep his head down and focus on this race.
Bit of a mistake actually coming through PWR Hamster and cutting the corner just a smidge, actually. I think he's lost quite a bit of time to Tio Vespa up a position in P9. A great race from Tio Vespa actually in the last race from the Toro Rosso, and I imagine to get his best finish in Synergy PWR. P5 I believe in the Toro Rosso as well, so good run from the South African, and here he comes now up on the inside down the mid straight into T14, and he makes a move just before the corner as well, and actually a good work there from the Toro Rosso, and he's going around the outside to try and hold on is PWR Hamster, and actually what a great return from the McLaren.
Yeah, very good. That outside line just seems to give him a little bit more bite to go into the corner, but very interesting racing. KJ's leftover pitting at the end of lap 1. He must have had a front wing issue.
The American runner now back in the pits, obviously front wing issue for the Hash. He did say there was a bit of contact heading through T1, T2, and it might have been the Hash. Remember, these drivers obviously coupling with simulation damage, but as it stands at the moment, Vicolas, actually, I said it was a good start. It was a relatively okay start, actually, from the Mercedes, but PWR Shadow just got a better start in the Racing Point, and the current championship leader, 2 second places and 2 fastest laps, now in the lead of this race and on for his best finish in Season 3. Resolutionary on her debut in P3 with HP Suppressor in P4, who's looking to try and capitalise on a good finish. And Purple Haze, surprisingly enough, up to P5 herself now after starting P6. So she's looking to capitalise on some good points to make sure that she can get on the counter-attack now to defend Mercedes World Championship. Surely they're going to be approaching this race very differently now.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be now thinking about strategy. I think what Vic's going to be doing now is he's going to start managing his tyres to try and get them to the point at where he needs to pit. But yeah, we'll have to see how this race pans out. But I think Purple and Vic are ones to watch because they could play the team game.
As it stands at the moment on the strategy side, we do have everyone on medium tyres apart from TEO Vespa on softs. Strategic Herpes on hards, Paul Davey on hards, and KJ Stavdov obviously just pitted. He's on a set of mediums, so everyone has started practically on the medium tyre round here today. And tyre strategies would suggest actually that the soft tyres won't last very long around here. Very tyre heavy circuit around here, as Purple Haze got a little bit wide out of the final corner, turn number 16. Certainly going to be an interesting one on the strategy side to see what people do. Will they attempt a two-stop medium soft soft, or they try to go on to a one-stop medium hard, or potentially do a two-stop medium medium soft as well? That is also an option. I mean, you know, as a driver, obviously, you managed to get the World Championship last season. You know your stuff when it comes to strategy. Now, what would you say would be the best strategy around China?
I think you need to do a medium to hard strategy around you. If you're planning one-stop medium to hard, the softs on high fuel runs around this track, they burn out so quickly that there's you pitting by the end of like lap 4 or 5. So you really need to be really cautious on your tyres if you're going to start on the softs.
Absolutely, I'd have to agree on that one for sure. Battles happening in and around the place at the moment. We've got SF1 Sean's now battling for P6 with Mongdog, but he's not too far off now the rear end of Purple Haze. Make note, DRS now enabled as well, so we're going to start to see people begin their stretches on the straights, we think. Depends on really how strategies are looking at the moment, and as it stands, Mongdog is actually pushing, currently in ERS 4 with limited ERS available now, just 25%. So he's putting himself into danger territory. He's putting himself into dangerous territory. Mike David making the overtake on the South African Toro Rosso driver TEO Vespa. Mike David now up to P9 after taking a full-time driver seat in the Ferrari in Division 2 after completing a fairly decent race actually at Bahrain.
I'm just watching the battle for P1 because they're going side by side into turmoil.
And it seems like Shadow's actually just given up the position with Vicolas, because heading through there, Peter Shadow knew he hadn't anything to really fight for, and as it stands as well, his ERS rather, very low. He's down to 15% ERS and holding in standard, whilst Vicolas at the moment has plenty of ERS, in ERS 0 and gaining into 2, but has limited fuel. He's actually in the negative at the moment, so he's actually having to fuel save, whilst Shadow is having to ERS save.
Yeah, it's very contrasting ways of racing here. You've got Vic who's really good at managing his ERS, but he will have underfueled the car by about a lap or two just to get a better start. Shadow, good at fuel saving. Oh, and he's made a little bit of a mistake there. Good at fuel saving, but his ERS, I think he just leaves it in the higher modes for a little bit too long, and that's where his downfall is. He needs to really manage his ERS better. Struggling
at the moment. Another person struggling at the moment as well with this ERS issue is now Mongdog. He's now down into ERS 0 with 40% fuel, 40% ERS rather, sorry, and SF1 Sean's now ERS saving as well. He's up to ERS 0 but has 55% available at his disposal, and he could be looking to make an overtake here, though Mongdog is still within DRS territory, but only just to Purple Haze. The question is, will he have it? And he does. So Mongdog is only really saving himself here by staying in the DRS of Purple Haze, because otherwise he might be done for here.
Yeah, well, definitely. The DRS train, as it's now known, is very powerful around this track, because you've got that long DRS straight around the back straight, and you've got this one just coming here onto the first turn. That looked like a bit of a so maybe for SF shots there.
Obviously trying to gain time is the Red Bull at the moment, and indeed we are starting to see this trolley train now down from P3 all the way down to P8 at the moment for that final spot on the podium. Resolutionary currently 2.0 seconds behind Shadow and Vicolas at the moment, so she's clearly struggling at the moment on her debut here tonight. On those medium tyres, HP Suppressor 7 tenths down, then Purple Haze 8 tenths down, Mongdog 8 tenths down, Sean 6 tenths down, and Hamster 7 tenths down. So certainly very much all to play for in this trolley train, heading through onto lap number 5 of 28 of this round 3 season 3 race, Synergy PWR People's World Racing tonight in Division 2. And it is certainly looking to be one to watch here, because all the drivers seem to be very much holding station here. Not many people in the higher ERS modes not really pushing through the corners and are looking to just make gains on those straights. But if everyone's just going to have DRS, the only person that's going to be losing here so far is the Red Bull of Resolutionary. But she's just managed to breach the ERS of HB Suppressor, actually, now saying that. So she's starting to push. And Purple Haze may be on the brink here, because HB Suppressor's had some really poor understeer heading out of the corner here. So we have the Mercedes potentially now making an overtake on the Renault, who's trying to close up the gap. And trying to close up the gap as much as he can, but Purple Haze has managed to get the move done before the braking zone, and surely the Renault's just going to have to give up the position here and try and battle in the second DRS zone. But the Mercedes gets a good exit. Now Mongdog is the next person to look, also a Renault-powered car. So certainly going to be one to watch in this battle for P3, as Purple Haze is now starting to close down the gap, and HB Suppressor trying to get close enough, but again, he's just limited on his ERS at the moment. And a lot of drivers complaining about China as well, actually. Not a very well-liked track as well, and I presume it's because of the lack of overtaking for the majority of the track. It's just slow corners all the way through.
Yeah, definitely. It's not one that's known for overtaking, but it can produce some very good racing, as HB Suppressor looks like he has some damage.
Oh, Mongdog outbraking himself going into that corner, nearly getting into the back of HB Suppressor. He has to sort of outbrake himself and take a little bit of a wider line as a result, so that's going to put him now on the brink, but he's getting really close to HB Suppressor, who's really starting to struggle.
I think he's just overheated his tyres a little bit. He needs to calm down a little bit, get his ERS in, get his ERS down, because he's gone through there in overtake mode on ERS 4. So that'll have increased his tyre pressures.
He's going to be putting himself in a situation where the tyres are just going to be too warm and he's going to lose traction. You can see all that happening through this corner here, where he had major understeer, and he still has major understeer. Look, going through that corner there, he's going to lose buckets of time. He's actually off the track. He's actually off the track, is Mongdog at the moment, and Sean's has made the overtake, and HB Suppressor undergoing similar issues at the moment as well. And he's actually getting quite close to HB Suppressor, is SF1 Sean's for P5 in the standings, and currently on her debut at the moment, out racing and out qualifying her teammate is Resolutionary on SF1 Sean. So surely this is going to be a point to prove for Sean here. He's lost his teammate in LR Tyre, who left Synergy under personal grounds. So surely he's going to want to try and maintain, look, I'm the almost veteran of this team here, you should be respecting me here.
Yeah, definitely, but you could say the same about
in the pits.
Very interesting. Yeah, those softs will be worn out now. He'll be wanting to start putting, see the graining there on the outside of the tyre.
Yeah, front left.
So, yeah, no, Resolutionary's got something to prove, obviously, because first race and want to impress. But at the same time, you've got to look at it as she is quicker, so she's just naturally going to go for it. But as I was saying to the guys in the party chat before the race, her race pace might not be the strongest, but her quali pace is really, really good. So you've got to sort of balance it. But some drivers have quali pace, some guys have race pace. So.
No one on the soft tyre as of present. We have everyone on medium or hard tyres. Gio Vespa coming in, changing onto a set of hards.
Possibly take on Suppressor.
Possibly could go to the end, could TEO Vespa. One person that definitely can't go to the end, though, is SF1 Sean's, making the overtake on HB Suppressor around the outside, but Suppressor outbraking him, hitting the apex absolutely perfectly, leaving limited space because he has absolutely right to do so, and they're still going side by side heading into turn 16 here, and surely Sean's is just going to have to bail, and he does, and he's going to get the DRS on the Renault, and here it is, and he is still in ERS 4, so he's looking to try and make the overtake as fast as possible, and that Renault is just limited on all ERS down to 4%. Heading into turn number 1 and 2, and he's trying to go up the inside, but there's going to be no space heading into 2, and he goes and has to go out a little bit wide, losing a bit of time there to Sean's, but Sean surely is going to get the better exit here. He is struggling at the moment, I believe, on tyres, and there he goes.
Yeah, Suppressor got a bit of wing damage there on the front left end plate, so that'll be hampering his tyre wear and his overall race pace.
Yeah, in fact, he's actually got a complete end plate missing, actually, on that Renault, and he's actually very prone to it, this, actually. HB Suppressor getting wing damage at Australia a couple of times, actually, resulting in
Don't normally see overtaking at this corner on Infamous.
And he's just not looking strong at the moment. is HP suppressing the Renault, and his
also got wing damage.
the sister Renault also with wing damage as well. I was just about to say that. Yeah, he's also missing an end plate as well. So both Renaults currently struggling to be able to hold on to carbon fibre at the moment more than anything. And Peter Infamous down to P11 as Strategic Herb is making a mistake going through that corner there. Is only going to put him in the grass and lose more traction. Worst thing you can do on hard tyres.
Go on the grass. Yeah, he's got wing damage there as well, so that won't be helping him either.
Here comes Hamster on HP Suppressor, and there goes the McLaren.
Yes,
surely HP Suppressor is not going to be able to make any moves on that one. Surely this is going to be a time now to consider the hard tyre. I have to go early and look after his tyres from HP Suppressor. Oh, that was a bit cheeky.
That's going to need a new front wing.
Yes, well, indeed, he's going to need a new front wing anyway, and fingers crossed it's not caused too much of a hamper to Hamster. I don't believe it has. He seems okay currently in P6. Gap's now starting to form. However, Shadow actually closing down the gap on Vicolas at the moment, as Vicolas still on a fuel save and on an ERS save at the moment, up to 73% on his electrical energy. But at this moment in time, Shadow has nothing. Herpy's looking to go around the inside here. Not a bad move from the Racing Point as he's trying to find a space, does PWR Infamous.
Oh, there might have been a bit of contact on the rear.
Definitely was a bit of collision, a bit of a collision there. I don't think any harm was done. I think it was more sort of tyre to tyre. But Infamous needed to tread carefully. Remember, he already has front wing damage. It's going a bit too far.
Oh, that was an outbreak. That was outside.
Whoa. And that
was very late braking.
It was prone to doing that at Bahrain, was Peter Infamous, and that's what saw him crash out with TEO Vespa, I believe, at the final corner in the last race. And fingers crossed, obviously, he will have learned from that, and he seems to have done so. However, he has got front wing damage, as has his teammate HP Suppressor, now down to P12 on the hard tyres. I believe he has had a front wing change as well, and he certainly has, as we head on to lap number 9 and nearly number 10 as well. And the gap now down to 1.1 seconds at the front between Vicolas and PWR Shadow at the moment. Gaps again starting to form, but we're starting to see some people now make some changes on their strategy on when to push and when not to, and Shadow still trying to save ERS while maintaining some level of pace at the moment and still hovering around 20%, which is around about where the engine starts to struggle getting brake horsepower. And he's really not using the full power of that Mercedes engine whilst he's hovering at around 20%. He's got to save, surely.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to be using very low ERS in corners to save tyres, and I'd be flicking it into possibly high on the straights just to give me that extra boost. But yeah, definitely needs to get on that ERS saving, as he's only got 27% left.
Speaking of which, the Renault of PW Infamous now into the pits, and he swaps onto a set of medium tyres, so certainly looking like a two-stop strategy for PW Infamous, and it will be, because of course he started on medium tyres, so he'll be doing, he's definitely committing to a two-stop here as the Renault, but he's now down to the back of the grid. Otherwise, around the place at the moment, Mike David closing down the gap at the moment on PWR Hamster, but got a very, very loose rear end has Mike David, losing that rear end through the selection of corners, turn 9, 10, and now heading through 11 and 12 is the Ferrari, and you can see that dirty air effect coming into play, and Hamster easily able to just pull away, but he will have DRS for the Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. Dirty air can really hamper you around this track, especially on these long sweeping corners like turn 1 and that final turn that they've just gone through before this long straight. It is a killer around this track, and you've got to really watch out because it can cause more tyre wear.
Indeed, we've got now heading in P7 though, and he seems to be, I think one thing that was a hindrance for him in Season 2 when he was racing was tyre wear. He seems to complain a lot about tyre wear issues at the moment, and he seems to be dealing with it quite well and actually quite racy compared to the McLaren at the moment, who might be on a bit of a tyre save at the moment. He isn't really pushing, I don't feel, and I think that's probably to stretch out first in, maybe for a one-stop medium to hard, as you suggested would be the recommended strategy. But though across the field at the moment, everyone seems to be hovering around about the same. The Resolutionary now losing time, 4.2 seconds now down on PWR Shadow, who himself has now lost about a couple of tenths to Vicolas at the moment. And again, he's now managing to go on that ERS save, as we have yellow flag sector 1 for Mongdog spinning out. And again, he's struggling at the moment on these tyres, and it seems to be whenever the tyres start to age, Mongdog is just not able to get that power down, and he's spun out, and I really, really hope this doesn't affect his race, because it affected his race badly at Bahrain, and I hope this at least he's going to be able to get into the points here and try and get something from this race, because he needs the confidence after what happened at Bahrain.
Yeah, definitely. The tyres, I feel, will be just overheating that a little bit more. He was a very, very cautious going into the hairpin.
It's a weird thing though. He's in ERS 0 at the moment, and he has 100% ERS energy available to use, and he just isn't using it. And I think that's because he's struggling. He loses the rear end again, catches it, has to go off track, and gives KGS leftover the position. Mongdog may have to give Tio Vespa the position as well, and he does so. He's down to P13 at the moment, is the McLaren. I'm just going to go off board to have a look, and he does have a full front wing as well. So I think he's just feeling a bit unconfident, isn't he?
Yeah, it's confidence plus I think his tyre pressures might be a little bit too high for this sort of track, because you really need to have a low tyre pressure for your race setup, so you can save the tyres as well as get traction down on the racetrack, because that does help with your tyres. That will help keep the temperatures down.
Great analysis. Great analysis from yourself, actually. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make clear here now. This is possibly the worst case scenario has now happened to PWR Hamster. Strategic Herpes on the hard tyre from the start has managed to get himself in front of PWR Hamster. PWR Shadow obviously came into the pits at the same time as Hamster, and he could have really done with his teammate not being close as they go really, really close into that corner. That's possibly the worst case scenario for the McLaren here. He needs to get past the Strategic Herpes, who is of course teammate to PWR Shadow, and they both came in at the same time, did the two drivers, and now he's losing buckets of time, and surely he can't make the overtake around the outside, and he does. Great move, and then we're going to have Hamster. It's definitely a bit of a collision from Strategic Herpes up the rear end of PWR Hamster, and I think there's front wing damage, and there certainly is, to the Racing Point, so he won't be particularly happy about this one. Vickers now in the pits as well, and now we've got HP Suppressor. Bearing in mind, he's just changed his front wing, so he wants to get past Strategic Herpes as fast as possible. He wants to be racing with Hamster. Herpes trying to defend the position at the moment, and he can't put the power down fast enough, can HP Suppressor, as a result, so he's now going to have to go side by side at around about the same speed, but DRS available for both drivers as well. That isn't going to help the situation for HP Suppressor. He might have to make a dive up the inside, and he certainly does, but will he be able to hold on to the position? If he does, corner cut maybe from the Renault to complete the move as well, so he'll definitely have a warning for that. But Herpes now down to P9 and surely into the pits to change that front wing, and he isn't. He's staying out.
You know, he's trying to extend his hard stint as long as he can. I was speaking to him earlier, and he said he's going to try and get to about lap 21, but if I was him, I'd put it about lap 15, 16, and then just put a set of mediums on and go from there. I wouldn't use the softs, even at a low fuel rate, because they do degrade very, very quickly around this track.
A couple of interesting things happening as well across the board. P3, P4, Vickers, Shadow still fighting. Shadow did manage to complete an undercut on Vickers, and Vickers has just managed to make the overtake heading into turn 3, I believe. So Vickers now back in front of Shadow, and Shadow burning through all of his ER energy to get back in front. It's not the wisest thing to do to think about your tyre strategy here. Purple Haze currently taking the lead, and crucially, Mike David came into the pits as well and just came out in front of the battle for P7 between Hamster, Suppressor, Herpes, and Herpes as well. So I must admit that is pretty crucial to Mike David's strategy, that he got out in front of PWR Hamster.
Yeah, definitely. That'll have helped his race strategy, also his tyres, because he doesn't want to be stuck behind Hamster, who's on a harder compound that'll be hampering his tyre life. Sean's in Purple Haze pit.
And this is the issue now we have here, as PWR Shadow does set fastest lap of the race, but he's currently losing buckets of time though through Vickers through that third sector, and that is simply because he had no ERS to use at all going down that main straight, because he was just burning through it throughout the track, and he doesn't need to. Pop it into ERS 0 and 1 on the slow corners and just hold your line, hold on to those tyre taps, and you should be okay. So it's a bit of a risky call from Shadow. He's really not managing his ERS well at the moment, is the Racing Point, and it will be on for at the moment for another second place and fastest lap finish.
KJ's leftover and Tio Vespa having a right good battle here.
They were having a good battle actually at Bahrain before a little bit of lag, as determined by the stewards.
Yeah,
determined TEO Vespa was at fault, handed his first reprimand of 3 possible reprimands for internet connectivity, but still these two battle on very well. South African and American driver, sorry, getting through and completing a cracking little battle before that little incident occurred. And currently Tio Vespa at the moment now 3 and a bit tenths behind KGS Leftover in the Toro Rosso. And what a run actually from Tio Vespa as he's lost the rear end going through there. That's not going to help his case. He's really struggling on the rear through there.
Yeah, he was. I think he might have his ERS in just too high a mode. That will have caused some oversteer on there because it will have heated his tyres up that little bit more.
You're absolutely right. It's just obviously got the bit on board as Vickers gets fastest lap of the race. He was in ERS 3 through those corners and then dropped it to 1 as soon as he managed to regain control. So you're absolutely spot on analysis there from yourself, Hoonigan.
HB Suppressor wanting to use the advantage he has on these mediums as early as possible to try and get past PWR Hamster here.
Other battles happening as well. Other battle happening as well with Paul Davey and Strategic Herpes going through here. Strategic Herpes with front wing damage, remember, and Paul Davey trying to get past the racing point at the moment and making a slight mistake going into T14. And it is really close between the Toro Rosso and the racing point as it stands at the moment. And HP Suppressor, as you said, absolutely spot on. Needs to get past PWR Hamster ASAP, otherwise he's going to be putting himself in a position where he could be burning through his tyres significantly faster. Remember, they are 3 laps older as well than the McLarens, which might not seem like much now, but when you're talking 28 laps around China, those hard tyres those 3 laps are going to make all the difference. Mike David closing down the gap on SF1 Sean's as well. Mike David on medium tyres compared to the rest of the field, currently on hards in front of him, so he will be a significantly faster car.
Yeah, Mike David on a 2-stop here because he started on a medium.
So he's confirmed and definitely determined to be on a 2-stop, because of course if he goes to the end on those mediums he will be disqualified, so he is going to have to swap, and he's probably going to swap onto a set of softs, probably around about lap 24 I would suspect. So he will be taking those mediums around about 10 to 11, maybe 12 laps max, and then taking the softs very little time, which could put Mike in a position to take the fastest lap as well. But of course it means he's going to have to try and pull a gap at the moment on the rest of the field, and as it stands, if he were to pit, let's say now, he would be down, we're talking 12, 13, 14, 15, and you'd be basically near towards P13, so he needs to make some kind of stats here as Paul Davey managing to complete the move finally on Strategic Herpes.
Ooh, yeah, Paul Davey just turned out a little bit too early there, and Strategic Herpes having to take a little bit of evasive action, but
he might be able to get him back here actually, will the racing point, and Paul Davey handed, I don't know whether he was in ERS 0 and 1, and that's because he's got low ERS, and I think he wasn't giving up the position as such, he just didn't have the power to be able to do it. And Paul Davey now back down to P10 as it stands, and KGS Leftover getting very close at the moment on those 14 lap old mediums, and he seems quite racy as well on those older medium tyres. He's done a good job so far on this recovery from KGS Leftover after having to pit on lap number 1, but Vespa getting really up and close and personal with the American driver in the American team.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to want to start thinking about possibly changing onto another set of mediums to go to the end of the race, but he needs to pull about a second gap on Tio Vespa in the next, I'd say, 2 or 3 laps, just so he can cover off Vespa.
David's still 1.5 seconds back though at the moment on SF1 Sean's not really gaining much at the moment, so he's obviously just sort of managing his tyres at the moment. HP Suppressor now in DRS territory against the McLaren of PWR Hamster, so indeed it's going to be very close here. Paul Davey also well within the range of DRS and Strategic Herpes, remember, who has wing damage, but that dirty air effect from Paul Davey from the Herpes' car, and the toe though is going to help him though to gain that time back. And the Toro Rosso getting very close, but I don't think he's going to be close enough for an overtake just yet. But he's braking very late as the Toro Rosso and has to go a little bit wide into T14. Gives Herpes a chance to be able to pull away, but he's had a really bad exit, has the racing point.
A bit of a mistake there.
So that's going to give Paul Davey the opportunity, but he brakes a little bit early and they both go wide. DRS open for the Toro Rosso, and he's in ERS 1 and not looking to make an overtake here, or at least to make an overtake straight away. He's looking to have the advantage into T1 and T2, and having the inside line is not going to be good if you brake too late, because he can do an under and over, and the Racing Point does exactly that into T2, but he will have the inside if he stays side by side, but they don't.
KGS leftover going up around the
gets
outside.
around the inside, and Paul Davey now relegated out of the points because of that simple mistake of braking just too late into turn number 1. You need to brake a little bit early if you want to make that move, and now Paul Davey on up for P9, now out of the points.
Letting Tio Vespa
and even further down now, because Vespa's now into P11, possibly a bit of a team strategy here, maybe. Remember, Paul Davey on 16 lap all mediums, hard, sorry, he has to pit still.
Yeah, they'll be playing the team game here as Vespa's on 6 lap younger hards, and he can obviously now go and fight as Herpes has made a bit of a mistake there, but yeah, you can see that the 6 laps younger hards are just helping Vespa get around.
He keeps going into corners too early. Yeah, I reckon he probably had a couple of warnings on this lap alone.
Up over PW Hamster, but he locks up, so Hamster's going to have...
He's surely going to have to give the position up though, as Hamster, because he's not ahead enough to be able to consider a move. But he may have DRS going down the main straight and heading into turn 1, and he's got plenty of DRS, but he isn't using it. And that's impressive stuff.
He'll be on a ERS save.
He's hoping that HB that does go a little bit wide, but it's actually excellently defended from the Renault as he loses the rear end going through turn 2, and very well put actually from the McLaren to see that happening, and holds on to P8. More strategic Herpes trying to get past Teo Vespa after he makes the move into T11, and Teo Vespa does manage to get past him onto T14, but then the strategic Herpes making the move back into T1, and Vespa now back out of the points again as SKGS leftover, does manage to get himself back into the points. Hamster now 4/10 off of HB Suppressor. Mike David now in the DRS of the Red Bull of SF1 Sean's. So we're now starting to see that difference 2-stop versus 1-stop sort of effect here now. And Hamster obviously going to the end of this race, but HB Suppressor does have the older tyre.
Paul Davey went a bit wide on that corner, which allowed Infamous to just sneak through. Sector 3 yellows. Yeah, Mongdog's just been off and he's spun.
I mean, Mongdog at the moment is really struggling. I think once he makes that one mistake, he'll continue to make those mistakes, and it's a real shame. But we do have an overtake happening for Mike David. Maybe he's going to be going on the outside of T14. Maybe he's going to do a late braking move. But SF1 Sean's holds on to the apex. A bit of a switchback maybe from the Ferrari. Not the best bit of power, though, from the Ferrari. He's not really pushing. He doesn't have the RS to do it. But he's certainly well within the toe territory now of that Red Bull. And Mike David looking to try and capitalise on a decent 2-stop. As it stands, he'll be able to get himself
up to the inside of turn 1.
SF1 Sean's, and it is currently 10 points, but
nice.
Sean's is going to be able to go up the inside
Vespa
because he's broke a little bit late.
Whoa,
as he goes side by side,
Vespa
and Vespa's out. Vespa's out, but we still have a battle happening for P5 and 6 at the moment. I'm not sure what's happened with Vespa though.
Yeah, it looked like what happened with Vespa is that I caught the tail end of that, so we might see a clip in on that.
We'll have to see what happens, and the stewards, of course, will be able to review that one, and the clips and everything will be available on our documentation page, which gets released, obviously, to the drivers on a Monday night. SF1 Sean's and Mike David still battling at the moment, though. Indeed, looking very racy is Mike David at the moment on this 2-stop strategy. As it stands at the moment, he will end up pitting somewhat, I reckon, around about lap 24 for a set of softs, because he is committed to the 2-stop, remember. Mike David at the moment, though, needs to get past the SF1 Sean has made a mistake! SF1 Sean's making a mistake, and he's caught himself on the curb and put himself into the grass, and he's down to P7. He'll be kicking himself for that one. He's not looking racy here today, and his teammate Resolutionary up onto the podium positions. SF1 Sean's now down to P8, and KGS leftover now is going to be looking to try and close down that gap, and Sean's will be kicking himself here because he was on for a fairly decent finish, P5, and now he might only be getting maximum P7.
Yeah, definitely. He just got on the grass that little bit too early, so it's...
He turned on,
yeah.
we were on board with him at the time. He mounted the curb and the car just wouldn't, it just gave way, and there's no downforce on a car that's 45 degrees up in the air, and obviously all the air underneath isn't going to help the situation. But Mike David will be very happy to see that, because that means he's now got a bit of fresh air behind him and a bit of fresh air in front of him to start considering his strategy. And he's currently in an ERS save at the moment. He's currently in 1 as he heads down into that would turn number 6, and then heading through the long sweeping left-hander of 7. And Mike David now looking to try and complete a 2-stop, and of course That would put him, as it stands at the moment, 5.79 plus the 16 equals 25. So a two-stop strategy with 4 laps to go would put him down as far as P9. But he is going to be on the fresher tyre compared to everyone else. And remember, KGS leftover on medium tyres, 18 laps old, could theoretically go to the end. But remember, simulation damage means 70% equals potential punctures.
Yeah, definitely. PW Infamous having to pit there because he had full wing damage on the left-hand side there.
This is a situation where Mongdog will obviously just be racing his own race. He knows that there's a situation of points if, of course, another 3 drivers knock themselves out of the race. We saw TEO Vespa leave.
He spun it again, Oh, he just held that.
He's looking to obviously just go to the end of this race. It is the McLaren to try and get some points at the moment. The McLaren's not having a good race so far as it stands, even though Hamster really in a good place to get some good points here on those hard tyres. They're only 8 laps old, and of course going to the end he's going to be on fairly decent hard tyres compared to the people around him. HP Suppressor can go to the end, but 12 lap old hards will finish close to nearly 20, which is a really bad place to be, because of course the cliff edge we reckon is something around about lap 18, so it's going to be very slow lap 26.
Yeah, very. Mongdog's his rear end just doesn't look stable. Rear end of this McLaren it doesn't look properly dialed into the racetrack.
I think it would be a bit of a strategy and a bit of setup change. Perhaps he needs to look at those tyre pressures, as you suggested, and I think maybe as well, if you're struggling on curbs and that's what's causing you to spin out, one thing to be suggested would be soften your suspension a little bit. If you have it too hard, the car's obviously going to be rigid and will cause a spin if you go too fast.
Yeah, definitely. You'll soften the rear suspension, and to balance that you may just stiffen the front suspension just to give you that extra. Also, what does help you to rotate the car and save tyres is by not having your diff completely locked. So if you can have your diff around 80% off throttle, about 16% on throttle, you have a good chance of
potential
making that car
move for P7 at the moment, as F1 Sean's trying to get around PWR hamster to T14 after he makes a mistake a little bit earlier in the previous lap. Number 21 makes a mistake, mounts the curb, and as we discussed, maybe a bit of an overly stiff suspension for the Red Bull, which caused him to spin. He is now managing to get past the McLaren, though. He's got DRS and he's in ERS4 as well to try and get past on the inside of T1. If he brakes too late, he's going to, of course, be prone to an under and over from the McLaren, and he sees the space there, but he just manages to make the move stick, does the Red Bull. He's now up to P7, could be on a move for P6 as well if he looks racy against HP Suppressor, and of course, remember, HP Suppressor will be on very old hards towards the end.
Finally pitting. Kedge's left over, we're going on to a set of softs now to the end of the race.
6 laps on a set of softs, easy as strategic. Herpes also in, and
well.
Paul Davey also in as well. That's going to bring PWR Infamous into the race again. That will push him up to potentially up to around about P10 as it stands at the moment. Of course, the drivers now leaving the pits is KGS left over. Paul Davey now in the pits. Herpes now getting a front wing change. Infamous now coming out through. He could be up to around about P10, but he is on fresh hards, so he's going to the end of this race on hard tyres compared to the people behind him, as Paul Davey comes out in front of behind PWR Infamous. It's very close stuff.
Mongdog spun and he's lost his full front wing, so he's going to have to pit now.
He's going to have to pit again and probably set a softs.
At the end of the race.
He's going to have to just hope to get that. Obviously, he won't be able to get the extra point either because he's currently down in P13 at the moment as he gets lapped for P7. Mongdog really disappointing again. He's really losing confidence, I feel, in this car, and I think he needs to look into his strategy and his setups because he keeps losing that rear end, doesn't he?
Yeah, he needs the setup will have a lot to do with it, but I think really he needs to start just calming down in the race. He needs to. I think what happens is he gets a bit worked up, and he needs to just sort of plateau that. He needs to just make sure that he stays ice cold.
2-stop confirmed for Mike David as he comes in to complete now his strategy. And we're on for a set of softs to the end. He's now down to P8. And he's got to look to try and find 15 seconds and approximately 5 laps to try and catch P7. And it may be a little bit more than that to catch P6. However, at this moment in time, HB Suppressor will, of course, be struggling to hold on P14, on 14 lap old hard tyres. Forgot to mention, by the way, we need to mention this at the moment. PWR Shadow, we were talking about his poor ERS management. He's still struggling. 10% down the DRS straight, and he has DRS, and he's not using it in ERS 4.
Yeah, I think he might be. Vic's just made a slight little lock up there, but I think he's just trying to gauge a gap there. He's within DRS range, so theoretically he should be using DRS because whilst you're using DRS,
now he's
you
using
can
it,
save ERS.
And he's now using it, but the thing is that he is in ERS 1 at the moment. He's got 7% ERS. I don't know where he keeps using it all, but he needs to drop it into 0 around these corners and stop using ERS, because if he does, he's not going to be able to make the move stick. And as you were saying, yeah, Infamous going wide through that corner, turn 6, I believe, and then letting Paul Davey through back into the points. Fresh loss to him now. Infamous now on to hope that someone makes a mistake in front of him. Make note, Mike David also on a fresh set of softs as well, so we could have a couple of people on fastest lap here and take it off the front 2. But as it stands at the moment, PWR Shadow now down ERS 1 again and struggling on that front end behind Vicklas, 8/10 of a second down. Mongdog again now needing another front wing at the moment. He's costing McLaren millions of pounds in front wing damage. Is the second McLaren driver, and I think he's just not his day today. He didn't have a good day at Bahrain either, and I think he's just going to have to reevaluate the situation, take a look at his setup, and make some tweaks ready for Azerbaijan next week.
Yeah, definitely. I think what might be happening is he might be using a somewhat time trial setup in the race, and now I use my time trial setups in races, but I tweak the tyre pressures and maybe the diff just to give me that extra bit of
great battling happening for P1, P2 as Vicklas and Shadow getting close. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Half a second here.
You're absolutely right in saying Shadow managing to make a bit of a move, actually heading through into T14, and Vicklas does defend off it, but at this moment in time his knee needs to hold on to his ERS, because Shadow now down to 20%, and Vicklas is still not retaliating. He's holding on to his ERS 0 and 69% ERS. Nice.
Yeah, I'll be saving it for the last few laps of the race here, but as you can see, Shadow with the DRS managing to save ERS now up to 30%. I know it's not much, but that DRS does help you save.
It's not going to be much though when you're versing a Mercedes powered car with what seems to be a fairly good setup. That's going to give him good traction out of T13, as Mike David does get fastest lap of the race, so he'll be taking the extra point as it stands at the moment, though Paul Davey also on a fresh set of softs as well, so he could potentially go for it. He'll be happy with that, Mike David. I think the 2 stops worked. He's going to get the extra point, and he's now 10 seconds behind PWL Hamster. He's probably not going to get the 2 stop to work for any higher than P8, but I'm sure that fastest lap will do him some good justice heading on into Azerbaijan.
Shadow got a very good exit out of this corner.
Very good exit, yes.
So gap 3/10 is going defensive, because he'll be using his ERS now. But I don't think there will be an overtake up here, around the outside, late braking maybe.
Still side by side, wow. Going into 14,
wow,
and here comes Shadow around the outside, and very well taken from the racing point. 3 laps to go, and then 2 laps to go as they come across the line, but it's going to give Vicklas DRS, and he has plenty of ERS to use to try and get past Shadow, while Shadow at this moment is having to save as much as he can, and he tries to hold on to the outside line, does Shadow, to try and force Vicklas out wide, and actually that's some great defending from the racing point.
Yeah, very good defending, very smart defending, knowing where to place the car right in the middle of the racetrack,
fantastic.
keeping it nice and tight.
Shadow will be very, very keen to hold on to this. This would be his first race of the first race win of the season as it stands at the moment, and of course, taking 25 points would be the first time he takes a race win, because of course the previous 2 races he got 2nd place and fastest lap. Fastest lap now gone. He's now on just for the race win, and now 0.3 of a second separating Vicklas from Shadow, and Vicklas is responding. He's now starting to use his ERS. I'm hoping that Shadow is now saving throughout these corners and not trying to retaliate, as Mongdog has now retired out of the session. That is going to be basically disappointing for the Mercedes runner. We're down to 12 runners with 2 laps to go. Shadow is surely, it's going to be Shadow's race as it stands at the moment, because if he does get overtaken here on this main straight, Shadow at least will have the opportunity to have one more go. And it could be all out for a one
very
lap
nice
dash.
Exit out of that corner.
Very good exit. Yeah, Vicklas is really struggling through that final corner. perhaps struggling with tyres, who knows, but he's into ERS4 and he's gaining rapidly on PWR Shadow, and he's trying to go up the inside with little space, and I think surely there's going to be contact here, as there's definitely
a little bit of contact there, a little bit of contact, but not
Shadow,
too much damage made.
Shadow holds on very well, and Vickers now dying to try and get past here at the Racing Point. Lap 27 of 28, it was a poor exit from the Racing Point. Vickers now back into the lead of this race, and he's going to have to hold on. Surely it is still advantage Shadow though, because all he has to do is just hold on to the DRS of Vickers, stay behind him, and then take him on that on the straight on the final lap. So anything could happen in this race though, and you never know, they could crash out, and Resolutionary could be on for her race on a race win on the debut, but a very bad exit from Vickers.
Shadow.
A very bad exit from Vickers heading into turn 4 and 5. He's going to go around the outside of 6. No way have I seen an overtake around the outside of here, but they're going side by side, and Shadow gets a cracking move to go up around the inside of 7, and he has to back out, does the Racing Point, and Vickers stays in front. Great racing from these two for the race win.
That could have very easily been front wing damage for PWR Shadow there, but luckily no damage given.
Great racing from these two all the way to the end as it stands at the moment for the race win. We've got 0.2 of a second separating the two. A little bit of a late braking move from PWR Shadow, hits the apex. That's a weird thing. Shadow broke later than Vickers and hit the apex, and Vickers broke earlier and didn't, and he missed it. So very unusual stuff at the moment. Perhaps a brake bias issue as it stands at the moment. But Shadow is going to try and make the move, which I don't think is going to be the wisest call here. So maybe he has to back out of this one tactically, or is he going to go for the move? He's going to hold on around the outside, and Vickers is going to hold on to the apex, and they go side by side still, and Shadow remains in P2. But surely this is an opportunity here for a last lap dash, and it certainly is going to be on lap number 28 of this Chinese Grand Prix Division 2 Synergy PWR. We have got a last lap dash to the end, and it is Vickers versus the current leading championship rival of PWR
go down the inside of turn 1.
Around the inside of turn 2. What a move!
Vic's going to have the inside of turn 2 here.
As Infamous gets fastest lap of the race, he'll take the extra point as it stands. In fact, no, he won't, because he's in P12 as it goes side by side, and that was just a little bit silly from PWR Shadow to try and react to something that wasn't there, and he's going to look for a dive around the outside of 6. Will the Racing Point. The Mercedes now trying to hold on, but very excellently defended from the Mercedes runner.
Shadow got a very good exit out of that corner again. I think Vic might be struggling with tyres just a little bit on the rear there.
Oh, he's made a mistake as Shadow, though. He's kept himself in overtake mode, and he's only got 5% ERS available, and I think he realises he's made that mistake here. 22% remaining for Vickers here, and although he will have the DRS, Shadow will, he might not have any electrical energy to push him to victory here, and it's certainly a bit of a mistake from the Racing Point, and it is going to go down to the wire on this very final lap, on the very final corners of this Chinese Grand Prix, and you can see before the DRS straight how much power Vickers has compared to Shadow, but DRS is available, and he's out of DRS energy. Is PWR Shadow. He's going to have to go around the outside of 16. He's going to have to brake late, and possibly a switchback maybe, as they go side by side heading into 14 and 15, and that is a catastrophic mistake from PWR Shadow. It's a catastrophic mistake from PWR Shadow that's only going to benefit the Mercedes of Vickers as it comes across the line to take victory at this Chinese Grand Prix. Shadow will be kicking himself for that one, but we've got to give a big shout out as well to the debutante of Resolutionary coming across the line to take P3 on her debut of Synergy PWR People's World Racing. Congratulations to her, and what a run as well from Purple Haze, and good selection of points, 37 of them for Mercedes as they come across the line, and that is P4. HP Suppressor follows the line in P5. It's not a bad run from him, 19 laps on hards as well. He finishes in P5 with SF1. Sean's in P6, he'll be disappointed with that, and Hamster in P7, and what a run from Mike David as well. He tried to go for fastest lap, but he just lost it in the end by PWR Infamous, and Mike David will be coming across the line in P8. KGS left over the American runner, 39 seconds back, but he will be on for a couple of points for Team Haas, and Paul Davey will be on for another point as well. And Strategic Herpes, what a race for this driver. He had wing damage and tried to hold on as much as he can, but I think he lost too much time, and in the end he'll be finishing P11. We'll watch now as the driver's now coming all around here. What a race that was though for that P1 position. I think Shadow will be kicking himself there.
Yeah, he'll be kicking himself because he knew that he should have been saving ERS in the middle part of this lap, because that's where you do most of your ERS saving. So yeah, but overall very, 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 very close racing.
As it currently stands at the moment, we've got 2 drivers now finishing the race. Paul David coming across the line. And then finally, the racing point, Marshmallow, as he comes across the line. Strategic Herpes finishes this race and finishes this Division 2 Grand Prix. Indeed, it was a very, very good race from start to finish, and a great run from the Division 2 lot, P1 and P2 especially, all the way to the line. 0.3 of a second separate. But we will have our podium ceremony, and it will be the Mercedes of Vickers who takes the top step of the podium alongside the PWR Shadow. A very, very good race from him. He finishes again, third P2 in a row for him, and a great debut race for Resolutionary, who finishes without a wing actually in P3. So good run from the Red Bull team. Very, very good stuff, and a very good race from the Division 2 races, and of course Division 1 following tomorrow. But before that, we'll take a final look at those race results, and a great win from Vickers, only 0.3 of a second separating him from Shadow, and I think Shadow will be kicking himself there. I think that's certainly going to be a lost race for him. Resolutionary on her debut tonight gets P3, so a good run from P4 from the start of this race, and Purple Haze will be very happy from P4, from P6 on the grid. HP Suppressor started in P3 but finishes P5. I think a little bit disappointing, but overall not a bad race from the Renault. SF1 Schultz, after making that mistake at turn 13, finishes P6 in the end and is out-raced and out-qualified by his teammate for the first time this season in Resolutionary. PWR Hamster finishes in P7. Not a bad race result from the Hamster, although McLaren will be down on points again here tonight. Mike David finishes in P8. Not a bad result on the 2-stop, with KGS Leftover finishing in P9, also on the 2-stop as well. Paul David finishes the points in P10, with Herpes in P11, with 6 seconds worth of penalties as well. And PWR Infamous with the fastest lap, but won't be getting anything, finishes in P12. Mongdog DNFs, and TEO Vespa also DNFs tonight. That's it, though, from everyone at Synergy PWR People's World Racing. Of course, we'll be back for the Division 1 Grand Prix tomorrow from the same time, hopefully, if I'm not late, 7:30 p.m. But for myself and the rest of the media team, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye for now.